Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo bolo. Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, thank you for joining this morning Srimad Bhagavatam class and attentive japa. Hopefully, it's been a very busy week since last weekend. Lots going on, but we all should be connected with Krishna. Krishna should be the center of every hour, every day, every year. And this is how you purify your consciousness, by totally engaging your life in Krishna. Although we do all the necessary things like Grihasthas do, but Krishna is connected somewhere, or we take his advice, what he recommends for everything, put him in the center for all our mind, body, and speech. Thank you. Okay, we'll make a start. And we're in Canto 4 now. This will be the second class on Canto 4. It was Daksh cursing last week, and today we have curses by Nandishavara. So there's like counter cursing going on. Okay, so curses by Nandishavara. Thank you for joining. Anyone who has accepted Daksh as the most important personality and neglected Lord Shiva because of envy is less intelligent, and because of his visualizing in duality. will be bereft of transcendental knowledge. This is the first curse of Nandishvara. Anyone who has accepted Daksh as the most important personality and neglected Lord Shiva because of envy, if they envy Lord Shiva, is less intelligent, and because of visualizing in duality will be bereft of transcendental knowledge. So the first curse by Ishvara was that anyone sporting Daksh was foolishly identifying himself with the body, and therefore, because Daksh had no transcendental knowledge, sporting him would deprive one of transcendental knowledge. So it's by association. Daksh, Nandishwar said, identified himself with the body like other materialistic persons and was trying to derive all kinds of facilities in relationship with the body. He had excessive attachment for the body and in relation to the body with wife, children, home, and other such things, which are different from the soul. Therefore, Nandishwar curse was that anyone who supported people like Daksh would be bereft of transcendental knowledge of the soul, and thus also be deprived of knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So anything spiritual, if they support materialistic people, then we will be deprived of any spirituality. Let's do a quick prayer. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Mukham Kroti Vachalam Pangum Langyate Garim Yat Kirpata Mamande Shri Gurun Dev Taranam Param Ananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishram Hari Om Tassat. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narotamam Devim Sasvit Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiriyat Nasta Preshav Abhidareshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Nistiki. Daksh has accepted the body as all in all. Therefore, since he has forgotten the Vishnu path or Vishnu Gati and is attached to sex life only, within a short time he will have the face of a goat. So this is a Nandishvara saying. Those who have become as dull as matter by cultivating materialistic education and intelligence are nascently involved in fruitive activities. Such men have purposely insulted Lord Shiva. May they continue in the cycle of repeated birth and death. So these are three curses mentioned above are sufficient to make one as dull as stone, void of spiritual knowledge and preoccupied with materialistic education, which is nescience. After uttering these curses, Nandishvara then cursed the Brahmins. So now he moves on to the Brahmins. To continue in the cycle of birth and death because of their supporting Daksh in blaspheming Lord Shiva. So he has not only cursed Daksh to have a goat's head, he's also cursed the Brahmins as well. May those who are envious of Lord Shiva be attracted by the flowery language of the enchanting Vedic promises, and who have thus become dull always remain attached to fruity activities. So the Vedic promises of elevation to higher planets, this is a flowery language. The Vedic promises of elevation to higher planets for a better standard of materialistic life are compared to flowery language. Because in a flower, there is certainly an aroma. This is why it's called flowery language, because just like in a flower, there's certainly an aroma. There's no doubt about that. But that aroma does not last for a very long time. That's why they call it flowery language. In a flower, there is honey, but the honey is not eternal. So Prabhupada always talking about flowery language. So it's explained here why it's called flowery language. These Brahmins take to education, austerity, and vows only for the purpose of maintaining the body. They shall be devoid of discrimination between what to eat and what not to eat. They will acquire money, begging from door to door, simply for the satisfaction of the body. So the third curse inflicted by Nandishvara on Ishvara on the Brahmins who supported Daksh is completely functioning in the age of Kali. The so-called Brahmins are no longer interested in understanding the nature of the Supreme Brahman. All the Brahman means one who has attained knowledge about Brahman. So if you're a Brahman, then you should have knowledge of Brahman, then you're a Brahman. In the Vedanta Sutra, it is also stated, Atato Brahma Jigyasa. This human form of life is meant for realization of the Supreme Brahman, the absolute truth. Or in other words, human life is meant for one's elevation to the post of a Brahman. But unfortunately, the modern Brahmins are so-called Brahmins who come in originally Brahmanical families. So you're born in a Brahmin family, have left their own occupational duties, but they don't allow others to occupy the posts of Brahmins. The qualifications for Brahmins are described in the scriptures. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad-Gita, and all other Vedic literatures, Brahman is not a hereditary title or position. So, Prabhupada saying is that if you're not following the Brahman tradition or the ways, or you have Brahman realization, then you really cannot call yourself a Brahman. If someone from a non-Brahman family, for example, one born in a family of Shudras, tries to become a Brahman by being properly qualified under the instruction of a bona fide spiritual master, these so-called Brahmins will object. Such Brahmins, having been cursed by Nandishvara, are actually in a position where they have no discrimination between eatables and non-eatables, and simply living to maintain the perishable material body and its family. So that's where that comes from the curse of Nandishvara. And in Kali Yuga, they claim to be Brahmins, and if person actually tries to attain the Brahmanical qualification, they try to hinder his progress. So Prabhupada is complaining that although anybody can Brahman through their deeds, but the Brahmins who are born Brahmins, they protest about it. This is the situation in the present age. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu condemned this principle very strongly, and this condemnation came from Lord Chaitanya because he didn't say that you have to be born Brahman. He said your deeds should be Brahman or Brahmanical. During his conversation with Ramananda Rai, he said that regardless of whether a person is born in Brahman family or Shudra family, regardless of whether he's a householder or a sannyasi, if he knows the science of Krishna, he must be a spiritual master. So that is the key, not your birth, but it's where what you do is most important. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had many so-called Shudra disciples like Haridas Thakur and Ramananda Rai. Even the Goswamis, who were principal students of Lord Chaitanya, were also ostracized from Brahma society, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by his grace, made them first-class Vaishnavas. So we follow Lord Chaitanya's examples in everything. So whatever Lord Chaitanya did, this we follow in his footsteps. And he said that, Brahman, just because you're born, you have to be following the Brahman ways, then you're Brahman. And he actually demonstrated that. These Brahmins take to education, austerity, and vows only for the purpose of maintaining the body. They shall be devoid of discrimination between what to eat and what not to eat. They will acquire money, begging door to door, simply for satisfaction of the body. So that's what he said. And when all hereditary Brahmins were just cursed by Nandishvara, Sage Brigu, as a reaction, now Sage Brigu is angry that why are you cursing the Brahmins? Then he starts cursing. This is so much cursing on. This is we were talking about anger last week, and this is another demonstration of how anger works. Now, the Lord Brigu is also started cursing, and he said that he condemned the false Lord Shiva with this very strong Brahmanical curse. One who takes a vow to worship Lord Shiva are so foolish that they imitate him by keeping long hair on their heads. When initiated into worship of Lord Shiva, they prefer to live on wine, flesh, and other such things. So now he's saying that if you are serving Lord Shiva or worshiping Lord Shiva, this is the kind of thing you will do. You'll have long hair, and you will be drinking alcohol and eating flesh and other such things. And then Bhrigu Muni continued, since you blaspheme the Vedas and the Brahmins who are followers of the Vedic principles, it is understood that you have already taken shelter of the doctrine of atheism. So he's saying that if you don't believe in, if you are blaspheming the Veda philosophy, then you are an atheist. So the Vedas give the eternal regulative principles for auspicious advancement in human civilization, which have been rigidly followed in the past. The strong evidence of this principle is the Supreme Personality Godhead, who is called Janadan, the well-wisher of the living entities. By blaspheming the principles of the Vedas, which are the pure and the supreme path of the saintly persons, certainly you followers of Bhutapati, Lord Shiva, will descend to the standard of atheism without a doubt. So this is the sage Bhrigu cursing everyone who follows Lord Shiva. This is total devastation, it's total destruction. They are just out there destroying each other. This is not good. The sage Maitreya, sage Maitreya is telling Vidur about this. The sage Maitreya said, when such cursing and counter cursing was going on between Lord Shiva's followers and the parties of Daksh and Bhrigu, Lord Shiva became very morose. Because Lord Shiva didn't say anything at any time. It's just his followers and the followers of Daksh, they're the ones doing all the fighting. Not saying anything, he left the arena of sacrifice, followed by his disciples. So he realized enough is enough, and best, before things get even more out of hand, best to leave. The sage Maitreya continued, O Vidur, all the progenitors of the universal population thus executed sacrifice for thousands of years. For sacrifice, the best way to worship the Supreme Lord Hari, the personality of Godhead. So it's clearly stated here that the stewards, personalities who generate the entire population of the world are interested in satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead by offering sacrifices. The Lord says in Bhagavad-Gita, Bhoktaram Yagya Tapasam. One may engage in performing sacrifices and severe austerities for perfection, but they all meant to satisfy the Supreme Lord. If such activities are performed for personal satisfaction, one is involved in pashan, atheism. But when they are performed for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, one is following the Vedic principles. All these temple sages performed sacrifice for 1,000 years. And then still now Maitreya is speaking. My dear Vidur, carrier of bows and arrows, all the demigods who were performing the sacrifice took their bath at the confluence of the Ganges and the Yamuna after completing the yajna performance. Such a bath is called Avabrita Shanan. After thus becoming purified in heart, they departed for their respective abode. So to explain that after Lord Shiva, previously Daksh left the arena of the sacrifice. So Daksh left, Lord Shiva left the arena. The sacrifice was not stopped at that time. The sages went on for many years in order to satisfy the Supreme Lord. So nobody is greater than the Lord. You can't stop the sacrifices because other people have left. You continue this work. All this sacred work is very important because it's for a bigger cause. The sacrifice was not destroyed for want of Shiva or Daksh, and the sages went on with their activities. In other words, it may be assumed that if one does not worship the demigods, even up to Lord Shiva and Brahma, one can nevertheless satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because this is a bigger cause. There is no cause bigger than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad-Gita. Persons who are impelled by lust and desire go to the demigods to derive some personal benefit or material benefit. Bhagavad-Gita uses a very specific words, nasti buddhi, meaning persons who have lost their sense or intelligence. Only such persons care for demigods and want to derive material benefit from them. So it shows the Brahmins knew that they were not worship the demigod, they worship the Supreme Personality Godhead. Of course, this does not mean that one should not show respect to the demigods. So we have to show respect to the demigods. It's very important. We just think that, oh, we are worshiping Krishna. No, nobody else is important. Everybody is important. Everybody who's connected to Krishna is important. All the Vaishnavas are important. All the Brahmins are important. All the demigods are important. Everyone is important. And the ones who are not connected to Krishna, they still have a spirit soul. The Supreme Soul is still in their heart. So we have to respect them, and we have to help them to realize that they are a spirit soul. So we respect the demigods, but we don't worship the demigods. We respect them, we don't worship them, and we don't have to love them. We only worship and love Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who is honest may be faithful to the government. So this is like an example that one may be honest and faithful to the government, but he does not need to bribe the government servants. Bribery is illegal. One does not bribe a government servant, but that does not mean that one does not show him respect. Similarly, one who engages in the transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord does not need to worship any demigod, nor does he have any tendency to show disrespect to the demigods. Elsewhere in Bhagavad-Gita, it is stated, the Lord says that anyone who worships the demigods is also worshipping him. Okay, so in some places it's mentioned that anyone who worships the demigods is worshipping me. So this is interesting. But he is worshipping Avidhi Purvikam. Then it says that he's worshipping Avidhi Purvikam, which means without following the regulative principles. And the regulative principle is to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So everybody is worshipping Krishna in their own way, but it's not complete and it's not with regulative principles. The regulative principle is to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's the thing. But most people think all demigods, if you worship demigods, you worship Krishna. It doesn't matter which demigod, because they're all part of him. They are his limbs. So you worship the limb, you worship the whole, but that is not the case. By worshipping the Supreme Lord, one automatically receives all the demigods because they are parts and parcels of the whole. So you go to the root, not the branch. That is the message here. You go to the root, like Prabhupada explains to us. You go to the root, and then the whole tree is nourished. So you automatically worshipping the demigods. So you don't feed your hand or your leg or your ears. You feed the stomach. You feed the stomach, and the hands and the legs and the ears and the eyes, everything is nourished. So you have to go to the root. And the root is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself. So by worshipping the Supreme Lord, one automatically serves all the demigods because they are parts and parcels of the whole. If one supplies water to the root of a tree, all the parts of the tree, such as the leaves and branches, are automatically satisfied. And if one supplies food to the stomach, all the limbs of the body, the hands, legs, fingers, etc., are nourished. Thus, by worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one can satisfy all the demigods. But by worshipping all the demigods, one does not completely worship the Supreme Lord. Therefore, worship of the demigods is irregular and is disrespectful to the scriptural injunctions. So in this age of Kali, it is practically impossible to perform the Dev Yajna or sacrifices to the demigods. As such, in this age, Srimad Bhagavatam recommends, in this age, the intelligent person completes the performance of all kinds of yajnas simply by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Tasmin tuste jagat tusta. When Lord Vishnu is satisfied, all the demigods who are parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord are satisfied. So that is the message. And thank you all for joining. The message is that please follow. Prabhupada has given us this shortcut on the ladder to Krishna consciousness. And the short ladder is that you take the lift, instead of climbing up the ladder, you take the lift and you go straight to Bhakti Yoga, to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thank you for joining. My Father Loji, Jai Prabhu, Partha Prabhu, Parveen Mataji, and Prem Prakash Prabhu. And I think Ravina Mataji was there earlier. Thank you all for joining, and we'll love to hear from you. Jai Prabhu is listening only. I think Sureshi Mata is busy today. She's looking after the deities, temple deities, I think. Thank you all for joining. Partha Prabhu, would love to hear from you. Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Bol Prabhuji. Nothing. That's a very nice class. And ending is Sankirtan Yajna for this yoga anyhow. And the same thing. What is mentioned in this purports is mentioned all of it in Bhagavad-Gita 7.23, where the translation says, men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of demigods, and by my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. So I think in that particular purport, Prabhupada mentioned exactly what you have mentioned today, Prabhuji. That's all.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Absolutely right. So, yeah, it's a good reminder for us. We do forget, and it's also a good lesson when we have to explain to the people why we don't, because people will ask us, why don't you worship Lord Shiva? He is God. Why don't you worship Durga? She is God. People say these things, that why only Krishna? Krishna is very naughty and he does this, he does that. So we should be ready with the answers, and the answers should be obviously polite and respectful. And so we say that there's so many demigods, but they are they're considered the branches, or they assist the Supreme Personality of Lordhead in his mission. And it's better to, and then we give the example of the root or the stomach, which is nice examples, that then everybody's nourished. If you are serving them one by one, because somebody's worship Durga, somebody's worship Shiva, somebody's worship Sai Baba, like that, then you just go taking a long route. The quicker route is Krishna himself, and it's recommended in the scriptures. That's what we know. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Okay, Praveen Mataji.
Hi, Krishna Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam to everyone. Yeah, very nice class. So now we understand why Brahmanas, they've lost all the knowledge cursed by Nandishvara. So do you think we should pay respect to Nandishvara? So because I was born in a Brahmin family and I always thought, oh, I'm a Brahman, but I have no knowledge. So maybe we should, I think this is what came to my head. Maybe I need to pay respect. So, please, give us knowledge so we can worship the Supreme more effectively. And I like the analogy where you water the roots and all the branches are watered. And the other thing, Prabhuji, what comes to my mind is like people who worship Durga or Shiva or Sai Baba. It is all for the material benefits, really, because people like even myself, probably I didn't understand that material life is different from the spiritual life. So when we worship Krishna, now we understand Prabhupada ji has made it all clear, what is the right thing, because other things are all temporary. Like there was an example of honey, because honey is material. So that's what I understood, that, yeah, now we know what is the ultimate goal, to go to Krishna, and we don't need any material things. We need to disentangle and attach to Krishna.
Very
Yeah.
nice. Thank you, Mandaji. Yeah, I mean,
Haribol.
sorry, Mandaji, carry on.
No, I said Haribol, Prabhuji. Haribol.
Thank you. I'm just going to say that even more than important Brahmins is the Vaishnavas. Vaishnavas are considered higher than even Brahmins. So we strive to be a good Vaishnav, and we have all the facility, all the knowledge. Krishna is the maintainer. If we want to advance in spiritual life, then we remember that Krishna is the maintainer of our body, mind, and the soul. He has provided all facilities, whether we are cursed or not, whether we're Brahman or not. This knowledge is open to everybody, and these facilities are open to everybody for the body, mind, and the soul. The body, as you can see, there's also so many different foodstuffs. Prabhupada says you don't need to eat meat because there's so many other things you can eat, and they will nourish your body, give you energy. You don't necessarily just eat meat. And then for the mind, Krishna has given us so much control over. He has given us knowledge, spiritual knowledge, and then he's given the remembrance and the forgetfulness, which are very important for the mind to be stable. Otherwise, we go crazy. In chapter 15, he tells us, Jnanam, Smriti, Jnanam, Apanam Cha. So he's given us these things for the mind to be in control, and also this knowledge for self-realization, as we have so much knowledge for the soul. What is the soul? Prabhupada explained in Bhagavad-Gita, in Bhagavatam. So all the facilities are provided by the Lord originally for us, and we remember that. Then whether there's a curse or not a curse, it doesn't really matter to us, but we have to work for it. Endeavor is definite. We have to endeavor, and we can go beyond all curses. It's not that we can't advance. We can advance, and we don't need to do big yajnas, because it made it very easy for the weaklings in the Kali Yuga. Just chant the holy name. That's what you need to do. Thank you, Madaji. And Prem Prakash Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Tender Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Rational key. So basically, yes. In this example, ideally seeing that it was, it can be compared to Jai and Vijay. Basically, it was not their fault to insult. To stop Char Kumar, 4 Kumars entering to the palace, because Lord Hari was resting at that time, but they didn't. Their intention was not to disturb him. Not very differently here, it is also mentioned in the scriptures that when you hear blasphemy, or somebody actually try to blaspheme a pure devotee, you should stop him. You should actually. There are 3 ways to do it. Basically, first way is to counter him with arguments. The second way is very worse. Basically, if you can't really do it, then there's a mortal activities involved. You must be able to kill him, or kill yourself. Basically, exemplified by Sati Mata. She didn't do the first part. Never seen in the history been done, but it's mentioned. And the third is the easiest part, is that what Lord Shiva did over here is just leave the place with the regret that you can't, if you can't protect the Vaishnavas or pure devotees or exalted personalities, you just leave the place because you can't really do it. That's another way of doing it. So, but Nandishvara tried to defend the act that happened against Lord Shiva, which is not against the principles. He should have done it, and he was rightly doing it. But that was also violating the principle that whatsoever happens, the Brahmana should be judged by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because in various instances it's been said that the Brahmanas are very dear to Lord Vishnu, and then they should not be, even if we see that something is wrong done by Vaishnavas, we should not blaspheme them. So that was violation of another principle as well. So very subtle, very subtle laws of nature were broken over here. But that wouldn't have happened until Krishna would have wished for it, or Krishna would have agreed to it. There should have been a greater cause behind it over the period of time. But it happened overall. And then the lot many pastimes in Bhagavatam also comes from this incident. Fortunate or unfortunate, we don't know, but this happened. And this explains many of the practices in Kali Yuga where the Danvas or the Rakshasas were given boon that they will be born in the families of Brahmana in Kali Yuga. So if we see someone in Kali Yuga, Brahmanas not acting as per the principles, Brahmanical principles, then we tend to actually criticize them. And that is true because it might be possible that Danvas or Rakshas, as they were given boon earlier, they were born as Brahmana. But from this incident, we still need to have learning, is that we still have to restrict ourselves from criticizing them. And that's the safest way of doing it. Many of the examples will be happening when we visit lot many temples in India. And we tend to, because of the situation, we tend to lose our control over words. But that is the thing we need to remember from this incident, that we should not actually thinking ill, even though are not following the right path. And many of our life as well, in our colleagues, we will see many Brahmanas, they are not following Brahmanical principles. And they might say that, no, although we are Brahmanas, but we don't follow these principles and all those things. I'm more of an atheist. But we still need to understand that whether or not they follow principle, they are still Brahmanas, dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So best is, if we can't keep up with the practices or the activities, we should keep away from them, but not to think bad about these Brahmanas, regardless of their position. So that's one learning. The other learning we have seen is about Vaishnavas. Krishna says that he has created Chaturvarna Maya System. So he has created the concept of Char Varna and Ashramas. So important thing is that these Varnas or Ashrams are required to run a society. But apart from that, the fifth one is Vaishnavas, which is not dependent that one has to be progressive in their activity. If a person is Brahmana, then he can become Vaishnava. If a person is Kshatriya, he can still become Vaishnava. If a person is Vaishya or Sudra, he can still become Vaishnava. And the Vaishnava is above all. So there's no distinction in this arrangement by Krishna that one has to be a Brahmana only to become Vaishnava. That is not dependent. Vaishnava is independent of all the Chaturvarnam system. So that is important learning, that one has to become Vaishnava by the learning of Srimad Bhagavatam and the different incidents. And for that, he doesn't have to stop his activity. I mean, he can still be Kshatriya doing his duty, but he can be Vaishnava. So that's a wonderful thing in the Sanatan Dharma and the way we follow Vaishnavism, which is absolutely wonderful. Many will not understand this concept or not have understood this concept, and that's why the blasphemy comes, and they try to try to actually see the things different. Is that the caste system, they call it caste system, and then say, I mean, in India so many cases are there where it says that you are fighting against the Brahminical culture who actually ruled over the Shudras and all those things, Dalits. But all these political things being created, just as a political thing created in this arena. So there's a lot of learning, and there are a lot of present practices which are happening similar to that, and we need to understand how to behave in the current situation as well. I find it a bit difficult as well to see the situation. Been having mercy of Srila Prabhupada, the knowledge we have been getting, and while preaching, we need to be aware of it. But one thing I've realized that, or probably realizing in process of realizing, is whatsoever political or social situation exists, we must focus on the supreme goal, and that's the love of the Supreme Personality of our Godhead, Lord Krishna, and to serve him. And the process is recommended by Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj, and we must be following it. Apart from that, we should be preaching it. And the impediments are there, like social culture and all those things. Thought processes are there, but we should try to get over with them. Thank you, Prabhuji. Here. So
Thank you so much. Yeah, wonderful. Absolutely right. Now with the Nandishvara, I mean, you're right. He was right to protest because Shiva was being insulted and cursed as well. So I think, but then the anger aspect, this dimension is still there from previous class, that he went. You have to know the limitations as well. He went too far. Not only is he cursing Daksh, then he goes on to curse his associates. And where do you stop? Then curse his family, maybe. Where do you stop? You have to draw the line with your anger. And when he's cursed Daksh, he's made his point. And he's proved himself to Shiva that he is loyal to him and he stands by him. You should leave it at that, but he went on further and said that this is the aspect of anger, that sometimes you go get angry and there's no brakes to stop you. This is the problem. But yeah, Vaishnavas definitely are at the highest stage, but you find and people tell me sometimes, and I also have issues. We talk about Vaishnava Aparadh, but people say that sometimes the other people they provoke you so much that you are no longer in control, and you end up doing Vaishnava Aparadh, whether you want to or not. You end up doing Vaishnava Aparadh. Sometimes you find that other people, they have not really grasped the situation. They haven't grasped the situation, and they will react without understanding what really happened, and they will try and make you cause Vaishnava Aparadh. So what do you do in this situation? I think this is where the tolerance side comes in, and not reacting back comes in. You respond, and you try and, like probably you have mentioned, that you try and keep your decorum and stick to the etiquettes and not try to cause Vaishnava Aparadh back, even though you might feel that somebody else has caused Vaishnava Aparadh to you, but you keep your level, you keep your anger in check, and that's the important thing. It's not always humanly possible, but you do your best and you practice that kind of attitude, and it should, it will get better and better. I can tell you that myself, that you do improve with time, and not that people will not agitate you or provoke you to, do aparat, but I think we can control our emotions. Radhan, you want to say something?
Yes. Hare Krishna, everyone. Dandavat pranams to all the Vaishnavas and the participants. It's a wonderful discussion. Everybody made really valid points. And I just wanted to add my realizations. Bhagavatam, as we see, Krishna has created all sorts of leelas for us, all sorts of scenarios with his associates, because I think he knew that we, the jivas of Kali Yuga, will be having, so short tempers. Our tolerance level will be so low, even after following the shikshas of so many shiksha gurus and our acharyas, and reading all the scriptures, hearing so many classes, we still find that our tolerance level, it doesn't rise as we would have liked it to be over the years, because we forget that in the temple situation, when we meet all of us, it's a spiritual hospital actually, where all of us are on a healing journey. Some of us are in some advanced stage, they are better, they were born more tolerant than others, and some of them, they've understood the lessons from Bhagavatam and the scriptures properly, or from the practical life itself. And the others, they are on a journey, their stations are a little bit farther away from the destination. So their more healing is needed in their lives. So this is where the Vaishnavism and being Vaishnav comes. So we have to be more tolerant of each other. We have to understand that we all are on a journey, and it's a healing process it's a kind of healing process for all of us. And the more we will get healed, the more tolerance will come. We'll understand it's the three different modes of nature, the three gunas which are affecting all of us. And some of us have realized how to deal with those gunas more nicely, and the others, they have learned, but still at times they forget. Because like Prabhu was saying, Nandishavara Prabhu was saying that in Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna says, Jnanam apohanam cha. Krishna says, I am the forgetfulness and I am the memory in all the jivas. So it's the actually Leela of Krishna on all of us. So we should not get disheartened with ourselves or with others, that why we are not able to progress, or why others, after hearing so many classes and lectures, and the 10 offenses to the holy name, we do that all the time. And Krishna is not different to holy name. So, and doing any aparadh to any Vaishnava is also an offense. So if we have understood better, we should try to apply that shiksha, that knowledge properly, and help others, the one who is not being so nice to us as we would have liked to him or her, because we don't know, like Krishna says, and I've heard in so many lectures as well, the person who we are meeting now, who is looking less tolerant today, he or she could become very high Vaishnav within our lifetimes. They can become so advanced, that eureka moment can come just like that, and you will see them advancing in their spiritual life just like that. And so we should not give up on anyone, and not also on ourselves, because Krishna has got us into this line of of the disciplic succession. We are attached to the parampara from all the way from our gurus, from Srila Prabhupada, and all the way to all the acharyas, and then up to Narad, Brahma, Narad, and then Krishna himself. So once we have understood that what is our goal, we should not worry too much, but just keep reminding ourselves every day, because like Krishna says, he's the memory, he's the forgetfulness. So we need the reminders every day. We need the association, whether it's online, virtual, or our sanghas. So So just keep endeavoring, don't give up, and don't beat yourself up, because once I was discussing something with Narayan Keshav Prabhu, and he said to me that he has learned that, or he had, I don't remember what he said to me exactly, that he had heard somewhere or he's learned in life. It's other, we shouldn't beat ourselves too much if we've done some mistakes in life, but we should rather give ourselves more chances, because that's the only way we will progress. There should be remorse, that much remorse, that we will try our best not to repeat that mistake, but don't be so hard and harsh on yourself, but keep trying your best. So let's hope that we can do less and less Vaishnava prats, and we can be tolerant of each other and give each other some healing space and pray for each other's advancement within this this life, and hopefully we will get closer to our destination, as close as possible to Krishna. And I've asked many Guru Maharajas who have come in the past to the temple. And I remember asking Jayadvaita Swami once, that he came into BYC when we used to meet up there, that Maharaj, how we can have the Shuddha Sattva or the Shuddha Naam? How can we say the Shuddha Naam? How is it? Maharaj just said that, Prabhupada said it is possible just like that. He just clicked his finger. It's just like that. So I myself and you myself, you are, all of you present here might be feeling that we can't say the chanting nicely. The holy name doesn't come as a Shuddha Sattva from our mouth. We are not able to imagine or deal with our situation. We can't imagine that we are doing the chanting right in front of Krishna. Krishna is the guest within our hearts, listening to that chanting. That Shuddha Sattva is not coming. But Maharaj, in a way, reassured me that it is possible just like that. So we keep endeavoring. And once that happens, he was saying that things will change. You won't be the same person. So when we see these Guru Maharajas, how they are so tolerant, and when they listen to our questions, they calmly listen and they think about those questions in them, our situation, and they look at us and they quickly judge, or they judge or think of the answer, that what answer we need, and from the knowledge. And because they have had that Shuddha Sattva coming to them, and through that Shuddha Sattva, that knowledge which they have been reading and rehearsing all their lives, they're able to orchestrate to us through their answers. So let's keep endeavoring, and I'm sure all of us will see within a year's time. So what we're discussing now, next year, we all will feel that we are somewhere else. And this is how in our life, our progression will be there. So thank you all very much.
Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna.
Radharani. Very well.
Very nice, Mataji. Thank you. Very encouraging.
Yeah. And the bottom line is that instead of worrying about how people are behaving and acting and speaking with you, you work on yourself, make yourself stronger. And then in fact, people might even realize that, look, because sometimes people don't react to situations straight away. They might think later on, maybe I shouldn't have spoken like this, or I didn't understand the situation and I reacted like this. And then they say, oh my God, how good that Vaishnava was, that they didn't react and they answered so nicely back. This way we can teach people by our own practice, by example. We can show them, look, this is how, when somebody speaks to you next time like that, this is how you should behave. So work on ourselves, make ourselves stronger, more tolerant and understanding, and less reacting, more responding, and then teach others by example. Thank you so much, and please.
I just wanted to add a little bit to that, Prabhuji, what Mataji said about everybody's on a journey. So that's what we need to understand, that everybody's got their own journey. So like Mataji, we are at different stations. And so when somebody is speaking rudely to us, or we thinking, it's not nice, but we just need to have empathy for that person to understand, where they are, and maybe pray for Krishna. Krishna, you only help them. So, and like you said, not to react. So that's what I've learned. So, because if we react straight away, we can say 1,000 things back. But if we stop and then even like a day later, you think, no, it's okay, I can deal with this. It's nothing. It was their perceptive, so it doesn't affect me. But then we just think, what is the situation of their mind at that time? And we can only pray for them. So when we pray for them, they will get positivity rather than, our negativity if we react as well. So I'm trying to implement this. So it is hard sometimes, but it does help.
Absolutely. And thing is, if you set a good example, you'll find 9 times out of 10 these people will come and apologize to you as well. That's
No, some people don't know the word apology, but then again, we shouldn't expect anything.
I said 9 out of 10, didn't say 10 out of 10.
Yeah. So like we're learning, we are not expecting anything in return for anything. So it makes life very, very easy. So
Yeah, but
thank you. Yes.
you shouldn't expect anything back. That's what I'm saying. You just give,
Yeah.
you show by example, and you work on yourself, make yourself stronger, so you can act in the right way. And this is what Krishna wants to. When Krishna puts us into situations, he's actually showing us where we are. It's like a mirror. You can see, you might think, oh, I have become so patient now. I've become so tolerant. I'm going to be so calm in every situation. Then Krishna puts you into the situation. He says, okay, let me see. Let me see. Do you really think you're calm now? You're compassionate. You're understanding. You're setting a good example. Let me see. And then you also see as well where you are. So we're showing him, and we're showing ourselves as well where we are.
And also, Prem Prakash Prabhu, he mentioned once that, like, at the time of difficulty, if you remember Krishna, then you're on the right, at the right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But like when things happen, do we remember this? Oh God, I should have remembered Krishna, So yeah, so we just have to keep endeavoring. And
I want to share one line with all of you. I heard this many years ago on one of the channels on the TV. I don't quite remember the name of that. I think he's a Sindhi guru or something like that. I really like those lines, and I think that applies to Krishna exactly, or to anyone follows. The lines were, Sukh mein dukh mein mere pritam teri ichha puri ho, chahe kuch ho mere pritam teri ichha puri ho, he deen bandhu dinanath meri dori tere haath, sharan pade ki rakho laaj. So this is the attitude we should have, that any situation we have, which we are being put into by you, Krishna, that is your will. So let your will be the most important, and let it be fulfilled. And if we are able to accept it as it is, that is the definition of Vaishnav, and that is the definition of tolerance. When somebody puts a bad step on your foot, and if you are able to not say oh and you're able to just tolerate, just able to stay calm and just go over that situation, that is the benchmark, that yes, that is the barometer of that level, or what do we call that leveling thing, to see scale, or so whatever that defines that we are tolerant after all. So before that, we just read all these lovely flowery languages of the Vedas, of the scriptures and Prabhupada's purports, and we start imagining, oh, I'm going to temple, I've become very tolerant, I'm so nice, I've got all the qualities. But until you go into the company of the Vaishnavas, until you go into the company of the society, until you're interacting with people, then you find out that how much you have learned. Like they say in Hindi, तुम कितने क्या बोलते हैं, कितना तुम्हारा, कितने घड़े में तुम्हारा घड़ा कितना भरा और कितना खाली है. Then it is shown.
Anyway,
Okay.
I think we might have just time for one round. Because we can talk this subject all day long and not come to any definite conclusion, and probably forget when we finish. But application. I will say that we must learn to apply ourselves, work on ourselves, rather than expect people to change. Everybody's on the journey, as Radhan has mentioned. So we should look after our own journey and protect ourselves with our shield of knowledge
be the change
and practice. Thank you so much. Puri Mataji, we'll do one round. If you like to do the round, please.
Yes, Prabhuji. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutle Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste.